The transport ship dropped Dae-hyun at Gyeongsan Outpost on a Tuesday morning. He stepped off the ramp with one bag and a toolbox that had seen better days. The asteroid station hung in space like a rusted metal flower, its arms reaching out to grab rocks from the belt. Dae-hyun did not look back at the ship. There was nothing behind him worth remembering. The outpost manager gave him a quick tour. Sleeping quarters were small but clean. The mess hall smelled like recycled protein. The workshop was where Dae-hyun would spend most of his time. He was here to fix things. Machines broke down constantly in space, and good mechanics were always needed. "Stay out of the lower levels," the manager said as they walked. "Nothing down there but old storage and sealed rooms. Some areas lost air pressure years ago." Dae-hyun nodded. He was not planning to explore. He wanted to work, earn his pay, and forget about Earth for a while. The first week passed without trouble. He repaired a drilling arm on Monday. He fixed a water recycler on Wednesday. He replaced power couplings on Friday. The work was simple and kept his hands busy. That was all he needed. On his 8th day, an alarm went off in Sector 7. A small meteor had punched through the outer hull near an old airlock. The damage was not serious, but it needed fixing before air leaked into space. Dae-hyun grabbed his suit and tools. The damaged section was in the lower levels. Dae-hyun had to descend 3 floors through corridors that nobody used anymore. Dust covered everything. Emergency lights flickered and buzzed. His boots left prints on the metal floor. He found the breach easily enough. A hole the size of his fist had torn through the hull plating. Stars shone through the gap. Dae-hyun set to work, welding a patch over the damage. The repair took 20 minutes. As he finished, his helmet light swept across something strange. A door stood at the end of the corridor. It was massive, made of metal that looked different from the rest of the station. Symbols were carved into its surface. They were not human letters. Dae-hyun walked closer. His curiosity fought against his better judgment. The door had a small window, thick glass covered in grime. He wiped it clean with his glove. Inside was darkness. He turned up his helmet light and pressed his face against the glass. Something moved in the shadows. Dae-hyun jumped back. His heart hammered in his chest. He stepped forward again slowly this time and looked through the window once more. The chamber beyond was enormous. It had to be the size of a cargo bay. In the center, barely visible in the darkness, was a shape. It was huge and curved, like nothing Dae-hyun had ever seen. He could make out what looked like scales. They were dull and cracked, reflecting his light in strange patterns. A dragon. The thought came to his mind unbidden. It looked like the dragons from old Earth stories, but different. Wrong. Alien. The creature was not moving much. Its breathing was so slow that Dae-hyun had to watch for a full minute to see its chest rise and fall. It was alive, but barely. He should have left. He should have gone back upstairs and reported what he found. Instead, Dae-hyun spent an hour searching for a way into the chamber. He found a control panel near the door, covered in dust. It took him another hour to bypass the locks. The door opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Stale air rushed out. Dae-hyun stepped inside, his helmet light cutting through the darkness. Up close, the creature was even larger than he thought. It had to be 20 meters long from nose to tail. Its scales were crystalline, catching light and breaking it into colors. But they were damaged, cracked like dried earth. Its wings were folded against its body, thin membranes stretched over bone. Its eyes were closed. Dae-hyun walked around it slowly. There were no restraints, no chains or cages. The creature was simply lying there, as if it had given up. He found a terminal built into the wall. It was old, running on systems that predated the current outpost management. Dae-hyun plugged in his datapad and started downloading files. The records told a grim story. The creature was called a Valorian. It had been captured over 100 years ago by an early human expedition. The explorers thought they had found a valuable specimen. They brought it here to this remote station for study, but they did not understand what they had caught. They tried to feed it normal food. They gave it water. Nothing worked. The creature grew weaker year after year. Eventually, the research program shut down. The scientists left. The creature was sealed in this chamber and forgotten. As Dae-hyun read, something touched his mind. It was not a sound or a feeling. It was more like a thought that was not his own. Thirst. He spun around. The creature's eyes were open now. They were deep purple, like the space between stars. They looked at him with an intelligence that made his breath catch. The thought came again, stronger this time. Not thirst for water, thirst for something else, something the creature needed to survive. "What do you need?" Dae-hyun whispered. The creature's eyes dimmed. It did not have the strength to answer. Its breathing slowed even more. Dae-hyun stood there for a long time, watching the dying dragon. He thought about the report he should file. The authorities would come. They would take the creature away, probably sell it or cut it apart for research. He thought about walking away. This was not his problem. He was just a mechanic here to fix machines and earn a paycheck. But he kept seeing those eyes, ancient and aware and suffering. Dae-hyun made his decision. He would not report this. Not yet. First, he would find out what this creature needed. Then he would decide what to do. He left the chamber and sealed the door behind him. As he walked back through the empty corridors, he began making plans. This was probably the stupidest thing he had ever done. But for the first time in months, he felt like he had a purpose. Dae-hyun could not sleep that night. He lay in his bunk staring at the ceiling, thinking about the creature in the lower levels. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those purple eyes looking at him, pleading without words. He got up at 0400 hours and went to the station library. It was just a small room with a few terminals connected to the colonial database. Most miners never used it. Dae-hyun logged in and started searching. The word Valorian brought up very little. A few scientific papers from a century ago. Some speculation from xenobiologists. One grainy photograph that showed a creature similar to what he had seen, but this one was magnificent. Its scales blazed with inner light. Its wings were spread wide, catching starlight. The paper said Valorians were an ancient species. They existed millions of years before humans left Earth. They traveled through space without ships, somehow surviving in the void. Most of the research was guesswork. Only 3 Valorians had ever been captured, and all of them died within months. Dae-hyun read until his eyes hurt. Then he read more. Somewhere in these files had to be an answer. He found it in a report marked classified that someone had failed to properly encrypt. A xenobiologist named Dr. Kang had studied the first captured Valorian. She noted that the creature refused all conventional food and water. It grew weaker despite being kept in perfect environmental conditions. Then Dr. Kang noticed something strange. The creature seemed more active when the research station passed near a certain type of star. She theorized that Valorians might feed on stellar radiation, not regular light, but a specific frequency produced by blue giant stars. The report ended abruptly. Dr. Kang recommended further study, but the research program was shut down before she could test her theory. The Valorian died 2 weeks later. Dae-hyun sat back in his chair. Stellar radiation. That was what the creature needed. That was what it had been thirsting for all these years. He checked the station's position. The nearest blue giant was 3 light-years away. Even if he could somehow get the creature there, it would never survive the journey in its current state. "What are you doing up so early?" Dae-hyun jumped. A young woman stood in the doorway wearing a security uniform. Her name tag read Ji-woo. "Could not sleep," he said, closing the files quickly. "Just reading." Ji-woo walked in and poured herself coffee from the machine. "About Valorians? That is pretty specialized reading for a mechanic. His stomach dropped. She had seen his screen. Just curious, he said. Right. Jiwoo sat down across from him. She was younger than him, maybe 25. Her eyes were sharp and missed nothing. I have been watching the security logs. You spent 3 hours in the lower levels yesterday. The official report says you were fixing a hull breach. I was. A hull breach that should have taken 30 minutes to patch. She sipped her coffee. Want to tell me what you were really doing down there? Dae-hyun weighed his options. He could lie. He could tell her to mind her own business. Or he could trust her. He chose trust. I found something. Someone. In a sealed chamber. Jiwoo's expression did not change. Show me. They went down together. Dae-hyun unsealed the door and they stepped into the darkness. He turned on the lights. Jiwoo gasped. The creature had not moved since yesterday. It lay in the same position, barely breathing. In the full light, it looked even worse. Its scales were cracked and dull. Its body was so thin that its bones showed through. It is dying, Jiwoo whispered. It has been dying for over 100 years. Dae-hyun walked closer to the Valorian. It needs stellar radiation to survive, a specific type that we cannot provide here. As if responding to his voice, the creature's eyes opened. That thought touched both their minds this time. Thirst, hunger, fading. Jiwoo stumbled backward. It is in my head. It is trying to communicate. Dae-hyun knelt near the creature's massive head. He did not know why he was not afraid. Can you understand us? The response came in images, not words. Dae-hyun saw stars. He saw the creature flying through space, its wings spread wide, drinking in radiation from a blue sun. He felt joy and freedom. Then he saw humans with weapons, nets made of energy, darkness, a cage, years bleeding into decades, bleeding into a century of slow starvation. Tears ran down Dae-hyun's face. He wiped them away angrily. We have to help it, Jiwoo said. She was crying too. How? We cannot get it to the right type of star. Then we bring the star to it. Dae-hyun looked at her. What? The fusion reactor. It generates radiation, right? Maybe we can adjust the frequency to match what it needs. That would require access to the reactor control systems. We would need authorization. Or we could just break in. Jiwoo smiled grimly. I know the security protocols. You know the mechanics. We could do it. They would arrest us. Probably send us to a prison colony. Maybe. Jiwoo looked at the dying creature. But I did not become a security officer to watch innocent beings suffer. Did you become a mechanic to look the other way? Dae-hyun thought about why he came to this station. He was running away from his failures, from his debts, from a relationship that fell apart because he was too afraid to commit to anything. Maybe it was time to commit to something, even if it was crazy. There is someone we need to talk to first, he said. Dr. Kang, the xenobiologist who studied the first Valorian. According to the records, she retired to this station 15 years ago. They found Bora in the small greenhouse section, tending to tomato plants. She was old now, her hair white, her hands shaking slightly, but her eyes were clear and sharp. I wondered when someone would find it, she said when they told her. I have been waiting for 15 years. You knew? Dae-hyun asked. I helped capture that creature. Bora's voice was heavy with regret. I was young and stupid and thought I was advancing science. I have regretted it every day since. When I retired, I requested assignment to this station. I thought maybe I could make things right before I died. Help us save it, Jiwoo said. Bora looked at them both. Then she smiled. Yes, it is time. Bora spread out the technical drawings on the workshop table. Her old hands traced the lines of the station's fusion reactor design. The reactor produces several types of radiation as byproducts. Most of it is shielded and vented into space. But if we can isolate the right frequency and concentrate it, we might be able to create something close to what the Valorian needs. Dae-hyun studied the plans. The control room is in the restricted section. 2 guards on duty at all times. Biometric locks on the doors. "I can get us in," Ji-woo said. "My security clearance covers most areas. The guards know me. If I say I am doing a routine inspection, they will not question it." "What about the radiation containment?" Dae-hyun asked. "We cannot just carry stellar radiation in a bucket." Bo-ra smiled. "You are a mechanic. Build a containment unit, something that can hold concentrated radiation long enough to transport it to the lower levels." The next 3 days were the busiest of Dae-hyun's life. During his normal shifts, he worked on regular repairs, but at night he gathered materials, a piece of lead shielding here, a magnetic bottle system there, spare parts that nobody would miss. Ji-woo mapped out the guard rotations. She figured out when the control room would be least staffed. She practiced her lies until they sounded natural. Bo-ra ran calculations. The frequency had to be exact. Too high or too low, and the radiation would be useless or dangerous. She filled pages with equations, checking and rechecking her work. On the 4th night, they were ready. Ji-woo led the way through the corridors. Dae-hyun followed, carrying his fabricated containment unit in a repair kit. Bo-ra walked behind them, her old legs struggling to keep up. They reached the first checkpoint at 200 hours. A guard sat at a desk, half asleep. "Evening inspection," Ji-woo said casually. The guard barely looked up. "At 2 in the morning?" "Best time. No reactor activity to interfere with the readings." Ji-woo smiled. "You know how it is." The guard waved them through. The second checkpoint was harder. 2 guards, both alert. Dae-hyun's heart pounded so hard he was sure they could hear it. "I need to inspect the cooling systems," Ji-woo said. "Had some weird readings earlier." One guard frowned. "Nobody told us about any inspection." "Because I am telling you now." Ji-woo's voice turned sharp. "You want to explain to Director Hwan why you delayed a safety inspection? Last time someone did that, the director had them transferred to ice mining duty." The guards exchanged looks. Nobody wanted to anger Director Hwan. He was known for his cruelty to workers who questioned his authority. "Fine," the first guard said. "Make it quick." They were in. The reactor control room hummed with power. Screens showed energy levels and radiation outputs. The fusion reactor itself was below them, a contained sun providing power to the entire station. "I need 15 minutes, Bo-ra said, moving to the main console. Dae-hyun set up the containment unit while Ji-woo watched the door. His hands shook as he connected the magnetic bottles to the reactor's exhaust system. One wrong move and he could irradiate himself and everyone in the room. Bo-ra's fingers flew over the controls. "The frequency we need is normally filtered out and vented. I am redirecting it to your containment system. Get ready." Dae-hyun positioned the unit. "Ready?" "Extracting now." The containment unit hummed. Its internal fields lit up as concentrated radiation flowed in. The temperature gauge climbed. Dae-hyun watched it carefully, ready to shut down if it got too hot. 30 seconds, Bo-ra said. The door burst open. Director Hwan stood there with a large man named Tae-sung, his personal enforcer. "What exactly is happening here?" Everyone froze. Hwan walked into the room. He was a thin man with cold eyes and expensive clothes. "I have been monitoring power fluctuations, unusual access to restricted areas, strange radiation signatures." He looked at each of them. "So I ask again, what are you doing with my reactor?" "Your reactor?" Bo-ra spoke up. "This station belongs to the mining company, not to you personally." "A technicality." Hwan smiled. "I run this station. Everything here is mine, including whatever you are stealing." He gestured to Tae-sung. "Secure them." Ji-woo moved fast. She pulled her security baton and blocked Tae-sung's path. "Nobody is securing anyone." "You would throw away your career for these people?" Hwan asked. "If that is what it takes." Ji-woo did not move. The containment unit beeped. The extraction was complete. Dae-hyun carefully disconnected it from the reactor system. The unit was heavy, filled with concentrated stellar radiation. Hwan noticed. "What is in that container?" "Nothing that concerns you," Dae-hyun said. "Everything on this station concerns me." Hwan pulled out a communicator. "I am calling security. All of you will be arrested and prosecuted for sabotage." "Wait." Bo-ra stepped forward. "Let me show you something first. Then if you still want to call security, I will not stop you." Hwan considered. 1 minute. They went down to the lower levels together. Tae-sung and Ji-woo eyed each other warily, ready to fight. Hwan walked with the confidence of a man who owned everything around him. Dae-hyun opened the sealed chamber. Hwan's eyes widened. "What is that?" "A Valorian." Bo-ra walked to the dying creature. "It has been here for over a century, starving, dying slowly because nobody understood what it needed." The Valorian's eyes opened. It looked at them all. The telepathic touch was weaker now, barely there, fading, almost gone. Dae-hyun carried the containment unit to the creature. His hands were steady now. This was why he built it. This was why he risked everything. "What are you doing?" Hwan demanded. "Giving it its first drink in 100 years." Dae-hyun opened the containment unit. Concentrated stellar radiation flowed out, invisible but powerful. He directed it toward the Valorian using the magnetic fields. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the creature's scales began to glow, faintly at first, then brighter. The cracks in its crystalline surface started to heal. Its breathing grew stronger. The Valorian's eyes blazed with purple light. It lifted its head for the first time in decades. Hwan stared. "This is impossible." The radiation lasted only a few minutes. It was not enough to fully heal the creature, but it was a start. When the containment unit was empty, the Valorian looked at Dae-hyun. The telepathic touch was clearer now. "Thank you." Then the chamber's alarms went off. Red lights flashed. A mechanical voice announced, "Unauthorized biological activity detected. Initiating containment protocol." Hwan smiled coldly. "The chamber has automatic defenses. They were designed to kill the creature if it ever became active again. The previous administrators did not want it escaping." "Shut it down!" Dae-hyun shouted. "I cannot. The system is automatic. Lethal radiation in 10 seconds. Everyone ran for the door except Dae-hyun. He stood in front of the Valorian, as if his body could shield the massive creature. "Move, you fool!" Bo-ra screamed. Dae-hyun did not move. The countdown reached 0. The lethal radiation burst from the ceiling emitters. It was designed to kill anything living in the chamber within seconds. The invisible wave of death rushed downward. It never reached Dae-hyun. The Valorian moved with impossible speed. Its massive wings swept down and wrapped around the human, shielding him completely. The radiation hit the creature's crystalline scales and was absorbed harmlessly. When the burst ended, the wings slowly lifted. Dae-hyun stood there, unharmed, staring up at the dragon. "Impossible," Hwan whispered. "That radiation should have killed it too." Bo-ra laughed, a sound of wonder and relief. "Valorians feed on radiation. You just tried to kill it with its own food." The Valorian stood now on 4 legs. It was still weak, still damaged, but alive and aware. Its massive head turned toward Hwan. The director stumbled backward. A voice filled everyone's mind. Not words, but pure meaning translated into thought. "Why do you seek to harm those who show mercy?" Hwan's face went pale. "It is talking." "Yes." The Valorian's mental voice was ancient and patient. "I have always been able to speak, but I had no strength to reach your minds. Until now." Dae-hyun stepped closer to the creature. Can you tell us your story? Help them understand? The Valorian's eyes dimmed slightly, as if looking into the past. Then images flooded into everyone's minds. They saw a civilization among the stars, Valorians traveling through space on wings of light. They visited young worlds, helping new species learn to reach the stars. They were guardians, teachers, gardeners of life across the galaxy. They saw this particular Valorian, whose name was something unpronounceable but felt like morning light on crystal. It had been observing humanity's first steps into deep space. It was curious about these new beings who built ships to carry them through the void. Then the memory turned dark. Human ships surrounding it, energy nets, weapons, fear and confusion. The Valorian had not understood. It meant no harm. Why were these creatures attacking? Captured, caged, scientists studying it like an animal. They gave it water, food, things that meant nothing to a being that fed on stars. The Valorian tried to communicate, but human minds were closed, unhearing. Years passed, decades. The scientists gave up. The research stopped. The Valorian was sealed away and forgotten. It survived on the faint radiation leaking through the station's hull. Just barely alive. Just barely aware. A century of darkness. A century of thirst. A century of wondering why these humans were so cruel. Then a mechanic with kind eyes found it. That mechanic did not run, did not call for weapons. He simply asked, "What do you need?" The memories faded. The chamber was silent except for the sound of people breathing and one person crying. Bora had sunk to her knees. "I am sorry," she sobbed. "I am so sorry. I did not know. We thought you were just an animal." "We did not realize you were a person." "I know." The Valorian's mental voice was gentle. "You were young. You did not understand. But you came back. You tried to make things right. That is what matters." Juan had recovered his composure. "This is all very touching, but that creature is worth millions. Billions, maybe. I am not letting it go." "You cannot own a person," Jiwoo said. "It is not a person under colonial law. It is an alien specimen." Juan pulled out his communicator again. "I am calling my contacts. There are corporations that would pay anything for a living Valorian. Military contractors, research companies, private collectors." "Do you truly value money more than compassion?" the Valorian asked. "Money is power. Power is everything." Juan started typing on his communicator. "I will be rich beyond measure. Then let me offer you something better." The Valorian scales began to glow. Images appeared in the air above it, holographic projections pulled from its memory. They showed technology. Faster than light travel without ships, energy systems that could power planets, medicine that could extend human life for centuries. All things the Valorians had developed over millions of years. "This knowledge is yours," the Valorian said. "Freely given. All I ask in return is my freedom." Juan's eyes went wide with greed. "Yes, yes, show me everything." "Do not trust him," Dae-hyun warned. The Valorian looked at the mechanic. "I must try. Perhaps I can reach his heart as you reached mine." Juan approached the dragon eagerly. "Transfer the knowledge to my datapad. All of it." The Valorian hesitated. Then it lowered its head. "I will give you what you ask." As soon as the creature's attention was on Juan, the director smiled coldly. He pulled a small device from his pocket and threw it at the Valorian's feet. "Electromagnetic pulse grenade!" Bora shouted. The device exploded. A wave of electromagnetic energy burst outward. It was designed to shut down the Valorian's nervous system, which the old research had shown was partly electrical in nature. The Valorian collapsed with a cry that echoed in everyone's minds. Pain. Betrayal. "You bastard!" Jiwoo lunged at Juan. Tae-sung blocked her, grabbing her arms. "Sorry," he muttered. "Orders." Juan laughed. Did you really think I would let it go? This creature is worth more than your lives, more than this entire station." He pulled out another device. "This is a neural collar. The old research team developed it but never got to use it. Once it is on the creature, it will obey my commands completely." Dae-hyun ran toward Hwan. The director pulled a stun gun and fired. Dae-hyun fell, his muscles locked by electricity. "Stop!" Bora shouted. "You cannot do this!" "Watch me." Hwan approached the fallen Valorian with the collar. The dragon tried to move, but could not. The electromagnetic pulse had paralyzed it. Its eyes looked at Dae-hyun, who was struggling to stand. "I am sorry," the Valorian's voice whispered in his mind. "I should have known better. I should have remembered that not all humans are like you." Hwan reached the creature and opened the neural collar. "This station is going to make me the richest man in the colonies. And you are going to help me whether you want to or not." He moved to place the collar around the Valorian's neck. Dae-hyun finally got to his feet. His muscles still twitched from the stun gun. He stumbled forward. "Stay back," Hwan warned, raising the stun gun again. Dae-hyun did not stop. He threw himself between Hwan and the Valorian. The director fired. This time the stun gun was set to maximum, enough voltage to stop a heart. Dae-hyun took the full blast meant for the dragon. His body convulsed and he fell to the floor, smoke rising from his clothes. "No!" Ji-woo screamed. Dae-hyun could not move, could not breathe. His heart was beating irregularly. He was dying. The last thing he saw was the Valorian's eyes, wide with horror and grief. Then everything went dark. Dae-hyun was floating in darkness. He felt no pain. He felt nothing at all. Somewhere far away, voices were shouting. He could not make out the words. Then light touched him. Not physical light, but something else. Something warm and old and filled with sadness. "No." The Valorian's voice surrounded him. "You will not die for me. I will not allow it." Dae-hyun felt something flowing into him. Energy. Life. It burned like fire and felt like starlight. His stopped heart lurched and began beating again. His lungs filled with air. What the Valorian was doing was sacred. In their entire history, Valorians had only bonded with a handful of other beings. To share life force meant to become connected forever. Thoughts shared, emotions shared, two minds linked as one. The dragon had not bonded with anyone in over 2,000 years. It had thought it would die alone, never again knowing that connection. But this human had proven worthy, this mechanic who asked what it needed instead of what he could take, who risked everything to give a dying creature its first drink in a century, who threw himself in front of death to protect someone he barely knew. Yes, the Valorian decided. You are worthy. The bond formed. Dae-hyun's eyes opened. He gasped and sat up. His chest hurt, but his heart was beating strong. He looked at the Valorian and understood everything. He could feel the dragon's thoughts in his mind, its memories, its emotions. All of it was now part of him, and the Valorian could feel him too. His loneliness, his fear of commitment, his deep desire to be good enough, to matter to someone. You have always been good enough, the Valorian thought to him alone. You just needed to see it. Hwan stared at them both. What just happened? The Valorian stood. The electromagnetic pulse had worn off. The feeding of stellar radiation and now the bonding had restored more of its strength. Its scales blazed with purple and blue light. Its wings unfolded, filling the chamber. When it spoke, everyone heard it. Not just in their minds, but in the air itself, the Valorian's voice resonating through the station. You tried to enslave me. You tried to kill the one who showed me kindness. This I cannot forgive. Hwan backed away. Tae-sung, stop it! But Tae-sung had let go of Ji-woo. He stood there, staring at the magnificent dragon, and slowly shook his head. No, not this time. What? I have followed your orders for 3 years, Director. I have hurt people for you, threatened them. made them afraid. Tae-sung looked at Dae-hyun, who was standing now with the Valorian's support. But I will not help you hurt someone who just sacrificed his life for another being. I am done. Ji-woo moved quickly. She grabbed Hwan's communicator and crushed it under her boot. Then she pulled out her own device. This is Security Officer Ji-woo to all station personnel. Emergency broadcast. Come to the lower levels, Sector 7 sealed chamber. You need to see this. You are all finished, Hwan shouted. I will have you sent to prison colonies. I will ruin your lives. You will do nothing, Bo-ra said quietly. She had been working on a wall panel. I just sent all of your private files to the Colonial Authority. Your embezzlement, your illegal arms deals, your abuse of workers, everything. Hwan's face went white. You had no right. I had every right. I have been collecting evidence for years, waiting for the right moment. Bo-ra smiled. Consider this my retirement gift to you. Miners and workers began arriving. They crowded into the chamber and the corridor outside, staring at the Valorian in wonder. Whispers spread through the crowd. It is real. How long has it been here? Look at it. It is beautiful. Ji-woo raised her voice. This creature has been imprisoned in this chamber for over 100 years, starved, forgotten. Director Hwan just tried to enslave it and kill the man who saved it. She pointed at Hwan. This is the kind of man who runs our station. The crowd's whispers turned angry. He does not speak for us, someone shouted. Let the creature go. Arrest Hwan. The director tried to run. Workers blocked his path. Tae-sung took his former boss by the arm, not roughly, but firmly. You are under arrest for attempted murder, unlawful imprisonment, and about 50 other crimes. You have the right to remain silent. Dae-hyun walked to the Valorian and placed his hand on its scaled leg. Through their bond, he felt the dragon's exhaustion. You need more radiation. Real food, not just what we gave you before. We can do better than before, Bo-ra said. She was already calculating. If we reprogram the reactor to run on a different cycle, we can produce the exact frequency you need. Continuously. It will take a few days to set up. The Valorian lowered its head to look at the old woman. You would do this for me? It is the least I can do. I owe you 100 years of care that you never received. Ji-woo stepped forward. I will help. And I will make sure nobody ever tries to hurt you again. Other workers called out their offers. The station chef said he would research Valorian nutrition. Engineers said they would help modify the reactor. The doctor said she would study the old medical files to learn how to care for their guest properly. Guest, the Valorian repeated thoughtfully. Not prisoner, not specimen. Guest. Friend, Dae-hyun said. If you want to be. Friend. The Valorian's eyes glowed. Yes, I like that. The next few days transformed Gyeongsan Outpost. Workers who had spent years just going through the motions suddenly had purpose. They worked together to help the Valorian, and in doing so, they helped each other. Bo-ra and a team of engineers modified the reactor. They created a special chamber where concentrated stellar radiation flowed constantly. It was not as good as flying free through space, but it was enough. The first time the Valorian entered the chamber and drank deeply of the radiation, its transformation was miraculous. Its scales blazed with inner light, shifting through colors humans had no names for. Its wings spread wide, membranes stretching and healing. It grew stronger and more beautiful with each passing hour. At full strength, the Valorian was magnificent. 20 meters of crystalline scales and muscle. Eyes that held the wisdom of millions of years. A presence that filled not just the room but the minds of everyone nearby with wonder. But despite its power, despite the fact that it could leave any time it wanted, the Valorian stayed. Why? Dae-hyun asked through their bond as they stood together at an observation window. The Valorian looked out at the stars. For a century I was alone, starving, dying, I had given up hope. Then you found me. You did not see a monster or a resource to exploit. You saw a person in pain and asked how you could help. That is just being decent. No, the dragon's thought was gentle but firm. Decency is common, but compassion is rare. You gave me more than radiation. You gave me hope that your species, for all its faults, has something special. The ability to care for those who are different. To show mercy to those who cannot repay it. Dae-hyun felt warmth through the bond. He realized he was feeling the Valorian's affection for him. I could leave, the dragon continued. I could search for others of my kind, though I do not know if any still live. But I choose to stay, with you, with your people. Perhaps I can teach you what my species learned over millions of years. What is that? That the strongest force in the universe is not gravity or nuclear fire. It is compassion, the choice to ease suffering rather than cause it. You showed me that when you gave me my first drink in 100 years. Now I will show you and your people what Valorians can offer in return. Director Hwan was taken away by colonial authority ships. Tae-sung became the new head of security. Ji-woo was promoted to his second. Bo-ra came out of retirement to establish the first xenobiology center focused on peaceful cooperation rather than exploitation. And Dae-hyun, the mechanic who just wanted to fix things and forget his problems, found that he had fixed something far more important than machines. He had fixed a century of cruelty with one act of kindness. The station changed. Word spread about the Valorian. Scientists came to study with Bo-ra. Diplomats came to establish contact. The remote mining outpost became a symbol of what humanity could be when it chose compassion over cruelty. At night, Dae-hyun and the Valorian stood together at the observation window. The dragon's massive form filled the space, wings folded peacefully. "Do you regret your choice?" the Valorian asked. "You could have walked away, had a simple life." Dae-hyun smiled. "I spent years trying to run from everything, from commitment, from caring too much. Then I found you and everything changed." "How?" "I learned that running away is easy. It is standing still and fighting for what matters that takes real strength." Through their bond, he felt the dragon's approval. "So what happens now?" "Now," the Valorian said, "we see what a human and a Valorian can accomplish together. We teach others that different does not mean enemy. We show them that the greatest strength is not in taking, but in giving." Dae-hyun looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there were other worlds, other beings who might need help, other creatures suffering alone in the dark. "Then we have a lot of work to do." "Yes," the Valorian agreed. "But first I would like another drink. This time not because I am dying, but because I am alive and I can enjoy it." They walked together to the radiation chamber. The Valorian spread its wings and bathed in stellar light. Its scales blazed like captured stars. And Dae-hyun watched his friend drink deeply, knowing that he had given a priceless gift. Not just radiation or freedom, he had given hope.